Welcome, friends, to our Friday's practice titled Yoga for Stress Reduction. So, as the heat rises, we are finding the intersection of traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda through the fire element. So, to keep it simple, the main intersection of those two ancient traditions are digestion. And digestion is what we take in, process, and what we release. So for today's class, we're going to kind of concentrate on the end part of digestion and this idea of eliminating and letting go. So let me back up a little bit. The lens will be towards that Ayurvedic lens of Pitta that goes with heat. And Pitta has a very sharp intellect. So I'd like you to think of Pitta as a leader, as something or someone that likes to get it done. When Pitta is a little bit out of balance, Pitta can be a leader, but maybe even a pushy leader or a little bit controlling. So we're going to kind of balance that Pitta energy with this letting go quality. You put things in place and then you let the energy roll out. Okay, so with that, I have nicknamed this class Wisdom of Letting Go. Okay, friends, welcome to class. I'm going to meet you on the mat. So for today's class, if you have a couple of blocks around, that would be helpful. And let's start to move ourselves into a comfortable, tall seat. And then let's start with that first portion of letting go. So maybe soften your eyes a little bit to reduce taking in the outside world. And now let's start to circle the crown of our head as if you were following a disc floating just above your head. And once you think your way through that or visualize that disc above your head, begin softening your breath. And gently change directions. Encourage yourself to let go a little bit more. Okay, now let's slow it down even more. The more you let your body come into the center, reach your right arm out to the side, thumb down, and then slide that right hand behind your back. Right? Make friends with your body and your shoulder. So find your just right. And then let's begin pouring the top of the head down over to the left. All right, so let the head tilt. All right, so sense the neck muscles lengthening. And it's not important how far you go. So we're not trying to think our way into this little bend. Allow yourself to feel your way through. Right? So Pitta's natural tendency is to think it through. Right? So sometimes you get trapped in big thinking or overthinking. Right? So drop into your body. Right, you might notice there's a little more room on that right side neck and chest. Okay, draw your body back up into center. Release that shoulder, maybe give it a little roll. And then let's find the other side. When you begin that pouring down, can you take the rush out of it? Right, notice how you're breathing. I like these head positions very much. We can access that vagus nerve running down the left and right side of the neck. Right, so to introduce that rest and digest portion of the nervous system. Okay, allow your head to come back out. Release the arm, give it a little roll. And then let's take the body position directly down onto the mat with the knees bent. And let's take a moment to let everything settle into the earth. Right, so that fire energy is upward energy, and we balance that by getting close to the earth. Right, sometimes they call it grounding down. And just be curious what's happening at the back of the body. Okay, let's combine a little bit of gut health for digestion with lower back. So draw both knees in towards your chest. Place your hands on the tops of your knees. And I call these scissor legs. So it doesn't matter which one, but pull one knee in, push one knee away, and then switch the scissor. Okay, you might start to notice the body is rolling. Just allow that to happen. Right, that smooth flow of energy. Okay, now let's start to turn those scissor legs into egg beaters. So you start to circle your knees. Right, so as they come in, they go out and around. All right, so we want to meet that Pitta energies. That Pitta energy is strong energy. All right, so soothing it with the little rocking at the lower back and a little leg movement. Okay, release your feet down into constructive rest. Grab a hold of a block. And then place the block on the medium side in between the leg bones. And then place your hands below your navel and above your navel. Okay, so breathing is an integral part of our digestive health, using the vagus nerve to access that autonomic nervous system, right? That vagus nerve. Okay. Breathe in, soften your belly. As you breathe out, sink your navel in and upward, lightly squeeze the block, and then sink your feet lightly into the earth. Okay, go all the way to the end of your exhale. And then when you're ready, begin again. So inhale is the soften. And your exhale is that slow activation of that deep inner strength that sits just underneath the surface. Take a few more rounds. I like to think of this as connecting to the wisdom of your gut. And so the more that we can connect to the brain, to our gut brain, you start to connect into that intuitive place. Not needing to force or control anything, but having an idea of a direction that we want to go in. Let's release this breathing pattern, release the block. We're going to drop right into a little hamstring series. Slide the right foot up towards the ceiling. All right, so maybe massage the back of the leg, soften the hamstrings a little bit. And then let your hand settle on the back of that leg as you draw the the left knee into the chest. All right, so the right leg is lengthened, left knee is into the chest. And then see if you can relax here into this place of stretching the hamstrings, compressing part of the belly, and a little bit of back care. We're going to continue with the hamstrings. Let the knees even out. So let the knees be side by side, right? So dropping that left knee down to wherever it goes, so it's side by side. And then butterfly both legs open. Right? So right leg goes out to the side, left knee goes out to the side. Relax your feet, relax your face. Draw both knees back into the center. Drop both feet down. And then slide your left knee over your right. So here's that knee stack. And then allow your knees to sway over to the left. All right, so sway it to the left and back to the center. All right, so that Pitta energy can come into a narrow focus, like it can bite down on an idea and then not become rigid with it. So allow yourself to relax here into this little twisting. Okay, now let's release, unstack, and then we're going to drop right into the hamstring stretch on the left. And then same thing, rub your hands behind your leg, right, softening. So we're not trying to pull it anywhere. We're just trying to lengthen the hamstrings out, whatever that looks like. Okay, let your arms quiet down and then draw that right knee in towards your chest. And then let's take a couple of breaths here. Right, notice the pace of your thoughts or where your thoughts are. And then call yourself back into your body by letting the knees be side by side. Right? So maybe pressing that right knee down so it's even with the left. And then butterfly both legs out to the sides. All right, feel your way through this stretch. And then notice if there's any gripping or grabbing, and then see if you can let go just a little bit. Right? Maybe it's softening through your face and your jaw. Right? Maybe it's softening through your feet. And so one of the ways that we carry stress around is the unconscious tension patterns. All right, so we slow down enough to pay attention, to be able to soften, make a different decision. Okay, let those knees come back together. Let your feet come down. And then stack the right leg over the left. And then come to that knee stack twist. right? Dropping over to the right side and then back to the center. Let the wisdom of the body tell you what's working. Right? Maybe you can let go just a little bit more and see what's here. Okay, let's finish that, unstack. And now let's make some space to digest. Send your feet towards the bottom of the mat. Maybe soften your eyes here for a moment. Go internally and then notice the sensation from the inside. Okay, give your toes a little wiggle, squeeze on your legs a little bit. Right? Maybe engage your abdomen a little bit. Just feel the strength right there underneath the surface. Right? We don't have to push or grab for it, it's right there. And then soften. And then let's start to change the shape upward into all fours. Take a couple of rounds of cat and cow, and maybe you start to articulate it through that pitta line. Right? So maybe you focus on the navel, the heart, and then your eyes. And just drawing a line between your eyes, your heart, and your navel. Make your way back into the neutral spine, and then grab a hold of the blocks and place them on the flat side in front of you. And if you don't have them, it's not a deal breaker. It's just a different option here. Okay, now let's keep the focus on a neutral spine as we slide the right knee forward. Okay, so slide the right knee forward. And starting to warm it up or heat it up a little bit with some core support. And then see if you can lift your left hand off of the block just a little bit. Okay, now let's start to move into spinal balance. Press your leg behind you, reach your opposite arm forward. Right? Become aware of your body in space. I can feel my body kind of swaying a little bit left and right. Okay, now let's release out of the spinal balance and use a block in child's pose. Right? So ease the body back down into a child's pose shape and let your head rest on the block. Rest your mind by simply noticing the pressure on your forehead. Okay, so from this digestive support pose, let's come back to that all four shape. And then if you don't like having your hands on blocks and all fours, please just move the blocks aside, right? So Pitta can be easily agitated. Okay, start to slide that left knee forward and then lighten that right hand. Using your core to stabilize. Okay, let's open it up into that spinal balance. Press your leg behind you, reach your arm forward. Take a couple of breaths. Release your arm and your leg down. And now we're going to find that other digestive pose of opening the abdomen. Shift the weight upward. All right, so we're standing on our knees. And then draw your palms backward. Take your shoulders with you. Right, so lifting into a back bend. Maybe your gaze starts to go a little bit upward. And then let's release out of this back bend and take the body directly up to standing. Okay, once you arrive in standing, let's drop into a harmonizing energy, right? So to move that energy wisely. As you inhale, you're going to bend your knees and float your arms up. And when you're ready to exhale, you're going to return to that standing place. Okay, just do that a couple of times, right? Floating up and dropping down. Right, no need to push or force. Pause in standing for a moment. All right, just notice the energy. Maybe you can feel some pulsing in your hands or the body starting to warm. And let's find another watery-like movement. This one is called pushing waves. So to keep it simple, take both hands over to the right and then lift the right knee as if it were a puppet, right? So pull the strings up, just maybe lift the heel, maybe hover the toe, and then step to the right. Push your palms forward. Okay, gather the energy back, shift back, lift your knee back up, and then place it back down into the center. Okay, let's stay on that side a couple more rounds and then we'll smooth it out. Okay, reach and lift, breathe in, step and push, breathe out. Feel your body shifting back and returning to center. Okay, explore that side a couple more times. All right, so this is a moving balance practice. The next time you return to center, let's pause here and start to push the energy out to the sides as you bend into your strong chair. Right, so that fire energy likes to move. So we're going to balance it here by grounding it down. Feel your legs. Right, sense your arms. Okay, let's return to steady mountain again. Maybe a little shoulder roll. And now let's find that pushing waves over to the left. Lift like a puppet. Push the wave. All right, so I notice if I rush through that transition back, I get a little wobbly. Just complete 2 more rounds. Returning to the center, same thing. Push your arms out to the sides, drop into your chair. All right, so be curious. Make friends with your knee, make friends with your back, make friends with your shoulders. And so Pitta has that sharp intellect and will think their way through. All right, so we want to kind of connect that mind and that body together where we're listening to the body. What's the body saying? Okay, let's release out. And then that last round for combining pushing waves, we're going to alternate side to side. So when you're ready, find your groove, lift and push from side to side. All right, finish up your round. Return to steady mountain. Okay, let's start to ground down that moving, heated energy by take a walking step back with your right leg. So walk your leg back. It doesn't have to be big, just walk the leg back. And then put a little bend in that front leg. So it's a short stance for warrior one. Okay, find somewhere that's comfortable with your hands as we begin to lift the back heel and bend the back knee. Now let's return to using the breath to engage our legs to our core. So inhale here, and then as you exhale, imagine squeezing a block with both of the legs. So squeeze towards the center line, feel your legs squeeze, let it go all the way into the belly. And your inhale will soften all that leg strength, right? Just soften. And repeat that 2 more times, right? Feeling the navel move backward and upward and feeling your legs energize on the exhale. Release all of that tension, step forward into steady mountain. And then just take a moment here and listen. Maybe you can sense your heart beating or the sound of your breath. Okay, let's take that regular walking step back with the left. Bend into that short stance of warrior one. Right, notice where you feel it. And then lifting the heel, bending the back knee. And then let's begin grounding it down using the breath. Exhale, navel goes up and in. Squeeze on your legs as if you were squeezing a block. Sense your legs soften when you breathe in. Okay, keep going. Okay, let's release those strong legs. Step forward, step a little bit wide. And then let's come back to that watery concept to balance fire. So let the legs kind of drop down a little bit as you take the arms in a circle for water wheel. All right, so once you find your wheel or once you set your wheel up, allow your body to let go. All right, so maybe you think about the water moving upward and then cascading down. Okay, let's water wheel in the opposite direction. All right, so the hands are moving together. Let's ease out of the movement. Put a little bend in your knees and allow your hands to drop down onto your legs. Right, so the wisdom of the back stretch. Everybody's backs are different. Really paying attention to what's comfortable and what feels good, because that's what we want to pattern. We don't want to pattern pain and irritation. All that does is fire up Pitta. Right, so give yourself a moment, stretch your back, feel the weight moving downward into your legs and in your feet. Right, maybe you stay here, maybe you drop your elbows down onto your thigh bones. Right, and maybe you allow your body to come forward and maybe hamstrings lengthen out. You're going to find you're just right. Letting the wisdom of the body guide you. Okay, let's sink down to rise up. Start to press your feet downward. Energize your legs and then draw your upper body upward. Keep pressing down through your legs. Keep activating through your core. And then return to steady mountain. Okay, once you arrive in steady mountain, let's take this directly into a balance pose. So maybe shifting the weight over into the right leg and letting the left leg move out into that tree shape. Create as much space in your abdomen as you can by lengthening up through the crown of your head. Right? Maybe you start to float the toe. Right? Maybe the toe lands on your body. Let your eyes soften and focus. Step a little wide. Take a couple of water wheels, both directions. Make your way back into the center. Come to steady mountain. Notice what's here. And then let's find the tree over on the left. Lengthening up through the spine. Use your eyes to help you balance. Release out of your tree. Place one hand on your heart, one hand on your abdomen. And then come into open awareness or listening to what's here in your body, in your mind, in your being. And whatever is here, allow it to be here. Let it be. Let's release out and take this upward energy back down onto the earth and grab a hold of a couple of blocks and have the blocks handy. Okay, once you come down, pause in constructive rest. And then tuning in what's happening at the back of the body. You may be able to start to connect to body releasing with gravity, right? That letting go. Okay, let's heat it up with the breath one more time before we quiet it down. Place the heels of your hands into your hip crease. And then let's have that fiery core breath. Inhale, expand. As you exhale, sink your palms into your legs. Start to hollow out through the center of your body. All right, so feel all those muscles moving upward and inward. And then soften all of that again when you're ready to breathe in. Okay, let's do 3 more rounds. using the breath to massage those digestive organs, right, to access that vagus nerve, some vagal toning. And then once again, soften into your body. Grab a hold of the blocks and then heel toe your feet towards the center line and then let your knees drop out to the sides. Okay, so use the blocks to catch your legs. You might have to put them at an angle or change the height. And then once you found your just right place, let's use the breath focused in softening through the diaphragm to the pelvic floor to support the digestion. Okay, so maybe hands above the navel and below the navel. And as you're breathing in, let your navel rise and soften through your abdomen. And as you breathe out, simply relax into your exhale. Right? So not a big grab or push. Just take a couple of rounds, softening your legs, your pelvic floor, the belly. Relaxing into that exhale. Listening to your body. And then let go of that breathing practice. And then simply come into open awareness here for a moment. So Pitta has a tendency to be narrow focused, right? It bites down on something. So see if you can kind of broaden out through your body. Slowly let your knees come up. Remove the blocks. And then slide your feet to the bottom of the mat. Right, giving yourself some calm space. And come back to your body, come back to your breath. And then if you'd like to join me with closing class with 3 chants of Om, come to a tall seat. Prepare. Om. 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 The light in me sees the light in you. Namaste.